You may have heard the saying that rules are meant to be broken. In real life, it's debatable, but in League, I couldn't think of anything better to describe just how I feel about the game. We took to our community Discord to ask you all what rules you think junglers should abide by. We did get a few meme answers like, remember that it's always your fault your teammates are inting, and never gank top. At least I hope that one was a meme. For the most part, it's a good idea to have a general plan for how your game should go, and a lot of the rules we received were very solid. Things like don't waste time, have map awareness, have foresight to look ahead. I could go on and on. However, the commonality between all of these rules are that they aren't really rules. They're more like general advice, and that's what makes them good. They aren't rigid and allow for much more flexibility. Today I wanted to dive into breaking down some of the answers that were actual rules, and talk about why flexibility and the willingness to break the rules is what can take your game to the next level. Oh, and by the way, you too can join our brand new Discord server in the description below. Whether it's getting advice on how to escape the elo you're stuck in, finding like-minded partners for ranked who are focused on improving, or who knows, even getting featured in a future video just like this one. Check it out and join the SkillCap community, link in the description below. One of the first questions that new junglers always ask is pretty much this. How do you know when to full clear versus partially clear and gank? And oftentimes they come to the conclusion that it depends on the champion that they're playing. While saying that pathing is champion specific isn't the worst way of thinking initially, and many players do subscribe to that ideology, it can definitely get you into trouble down the line. This subscriber boiled it down to basically, if you can clear before 315, you usually just full clear, and if you can't, you should look for ganks. As an example, Viego can definitely clear well before 315, even without a leash. Following this rule, we would pretty much expect to be full clearing every game. However, if we look at the literal rank 1 player in NA right now, we will find that this is not the case. He starts off in this game by clearing his topside jungle, and it looks like he's going to full clear into bot side. When he does get into bottom, he skips his raptors. He runs straight to his red, and then afterwards goes for a bot gank, scoring a kill on Leona and delaying Jinx's recall pretty significantly. So it's obvious that he didn't full clear, and it resulted in a positive play. But I want to focus on why and exactly how he broke this rule. Let's address one counterpoint that was brought up within this statement. This might be looking too much into semantics, but peeling off for a fight seems like do your full clear and then ditch if at some point you need to react to something. I don't think that they wanted to necessarily mean never look for a proactive play, so I won't debate that point. However, this went beyond just peeling off for a fight. At this point in the game, we would expect Viego to immediately do raptors or look for a gank here if he were following the rule, but he does neither. He goes to red buff instead, interrupting the full clear, but also not ganking, likely because of the possibilities that it opens up for him and the likelihood of other plays working out. If we watch what happened early on in this game bot lane, everyone blew all summoners. The fact that this happened makes ganks significantly more likely to work out. What Viego does is adapt his pathing in a way where he had options that had a probable positive outcome. Having red buff for the play means his gank is stronger, and he's also faster to bot lane. Had he done raptors instead, this play might not have worked, and if he wanted to do raptors and red and then go, he wouldn't be there in time. He just picked the path that would enable his strongest play. Because of this, I really tried to avoid creating limiting rules like this. I would actually say that pathing is not champion specific at all, rather it's game specific. Plenty of champions like Elise, Jarvan, and Lee Sin are thought to be aggressive early gankers. But if you look at just the recent game 1 of LCS finals, we can see that Jarvan full cleared. But why? Oftentimes having tools that make ganks strong doesn't make the gank just magically happen. If the opportunities aren't there, they just aren't there. However, that doesn't mean that even bad early gankers like Shyvana can't just walk up to an almost guaranteed or extremely punishing gank and have it work out. The better way of thinking about your champion is that it does impact which plays will be likely to work, but doesn't constrain you to a specific playstyle. You should do the play that works, and sometimes that's going to directly contradict with the champion's playstyle that you're playing. At the end of the day, playstyle is really about the player and not the champion. While we're already on this Viego replay, let's take another look at a proposed rule that gets broken in this game. Several of you like this idea that moving equals efficiency, and said to never stop moving. Again, this is a decent idea, but there are exceptions. After finishing up Krugs in a later clear, Viego heads towards bottom and sits in a bush for about 30 seconds. To someone watching this, they would probably think that this is a massive waste of time, and in this case, it was. However, it's still a correct play. But again, why? League is a game of incomplete information. We never truly know 100% of what's going on, so oftentimes we need to sacrifice a bit of our own time to guarantee that things will work out. If Viego hadn't stayed bottom during this, there was a greater than 0% chance that on this wave here, the enemy jungle and support might come bottom and kill his bot lane who is attempting to break this freeze. By staying, he sacrifices a bit of time, but accounts for all unknown variables. If Graves does come bottom, then he's ready to counter gank and they probably win the 3v3. If Graves doesn't come bot, then yeah, it might be a waste of time. But there's absolutely no way of knowing that that would be the case. While good players do sometimes just stand still and wait around, they do so for good reasons like this. Additionally, if we look at the jungle camps, you'll see that all of his camps are down. One very interesting idea behind using time as a resource is that it isn't always worth the same amount. When there are less things to do, time is worth less. The difference in this play, if all his camps were to be up, would be massive, as he's losing efficiency by the second, and the decision would be much harder to make. It can be just one thing that makes you consider making a play like this, and is why he ultimately found it worth it. There are tons of other examples where not moving is actually ideal though. Let's imagine a situation where both of your solo lanes are vulnerable to a gank and are trying to push out their waves. If you end up going towards one or the other in order to assist, you make the other one pay the price. So in a spot like this, when you're torn between choices, it's actually best just to stand in between both and not move until you get more information. If you see the enemy jungler try to gank one of the lanes, you'll be able to react and counter it without making the other one vulnerable first. And if the enemy jungler never comes to either, you can sleep well knowing that you made it 100% to work out that way just by standing there. It's a good idea to try and use your time well, but efficiency doesn't always mean that you have to be on the move, and that's the clarification that I thought was important to make here. Let's get in one more comment, which is actually a 3-in-1, so we'll break down each part in order. Keeping yellow trinket for first rotation is again a usually solid idea, but there are a few notable exceptions. Take for example if you see someone place a ward at level 1 in a bush right in front of you. It's often ideal just to base and grab sweeper in order to clear it out. Doing so actually gives 1 minion worth of experience to everyone who participated in killing it, which is enough for solo laners to hit level 2 during the first wave instead of the second. That very specific breakpoint is definitely worth having a sweeper, as it can literally win both of your solo lanes their lanes single-handedly. There are other examples like, you want to late invade, or you want to go for a level 3 dive and want to make sure you aren't spotted. So there are definitely plenty of other reasons why yellow trinket can be inferior to red, even on the first clear. But let's address the second point as well. I think this one is again pretty easy to see how you wouldn't want to. Buying a pink if you have to choose between that or completing your mythic item just isn't a fair comparison. I'll pick my mythic every time. Again, I'm sure that our subscriber didn't really mean always, but I wanted to convey the counterpoint regardless. I do think that in general having pinks is a good thing, but there are more situations like not wanting to delay a power spike and not needing great vision because all the objectives are down or something. So this is less niche than most people think, and you still need to wonder if you actually need that pink or not. The third part of this rule was about Dragon and early Rift Herald. And I want to pull up a replay from Closer, who is definitely one of the world's best junglers. His team is getting ready for what looks like a dragon fight. They group up and start contesting vision, and Leona flashes in to start the fight. They win extremely hard and pick up 3 kills for 0. At this point, Closer could easily do the dragon, but he opts not to. Instead, he chooses to take the crab, and then retreat into his jungle to do blue and Grom. The reasoning for this exactly we can't know without asking him, but I can at least speculate on why he would choose not to. By not doing dragon, he hides his presence on map, and now Lilia, who's just respawned, isn't sure what she should do. If she goes bot to try and gank Kalista and Leona, Lee could be hovering. If she tries to go topside and do Rift, or take away Lee's red, then she's not sure if Lee is there either. Again, this idea of incomplete information comes into play, and not having info is what's going to make it impossible for Lilia to 100% make the best play. Because there's just so much on the map to do right now with both Rift and Dragon, as well as almost all of Lee Sin's camps and a bot fight happening, Lee can't afford to give away information because there's just too much at risk. Maybe he also just wanted level 6 for the ability to aggressively invade on the enemy Krugs like he did here, and also hover our bot lane who needs to recall. Again, we'll never know, but if a rank 1 player is choosing very intentionally not to do Dragon here, we should definitely give a good thought into why we wouldn't want to do it in a similar situation as well. They actually don't even end up taking Dragon for a few more minutes, instead opting for other plays like invading the opponent's red, their raptors, and ganking mid. I've talked at length about how Dragon doesn't actually contribute to your snowball and is more of an insurance policy. And Closer has really proven my point here by having multiple chances to do Dragon and just never taking it off the map. The point of this guide wasn't to correct our subscribers. Rather, I just wanted to show that the idea of rules within League of Legends, an insanely complicated game, just has way more nuance than can be communicated in such a short form like a small rule or a Discord comment. It's why we have to make long guides talking about just single concepts so we can elaborate on all of the possible exceptions, and even then there might come a time where the correct play is to ignore all of that and break it again. Like I said earlier, it's good to have a general idea of how you should be playing the game, but the real next level comes from the exceptions to the rules. The second that we start thinking in terms of a flowchart and stop analyzing every situation individually, you're going to miss something.
Alright guys, before we wrap this up, let's tell you a little more about Skill Capped. So, we offer a 5-division rank up guarantee, and think that's a pretty crazy thing to offer. It's like a gym membership guaranteeing you'll get ripped. Your local gym would go bust if they offered that, right? Not us. We've offered this for years because our service really does work. It works so well, in fact, that we're able to produce by far the largest catalog of premium league guides on the internet. We add over 20 videos a week, with over 1,600 guides curated into over 100 courses no one can compare. We've also sent challenger players into ELO Hell 714 times and counting, where they commentate how to carry live. They also respond to all questions asked. Sign up today for as little as $6.99 a month if you are serious about improving.
I hope that this guide gave you some food for thought, and you came away with a new perspective. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you next time.